Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to our Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video, and we're going to be talking about Ardyn, Noctis, Aranea, Nyx, and Cindy in the next King Mog update for the chippy side and eventually the global side. So, if you like my reviews, please give a like. Can we get 60 likes on this video? That'd be really great. That would show that I can keep going with this. So 60 likes on the site, really appreciate it. Consider subscribing so you can see these reviews more often, and also you'll be able to see the polls that I'll be doing for this banner, because there's quite a lot of banners to go around. So we got Aranea first. Infinite turns, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing to have infinite turns, so then you don't have to choose or decide things. Spirit Break Gauze, which is pretty useful, I gotta imagine. having your support, I would say she's like a support Dragoon now, so it's kind of weird to even say that. But she has bolting strike frames. Her Brave Shift Lone Burst zone effect gives 25% more attack on top of the possible 300% attack that you're going to give yourself with her own buff or maybe to someone else. So it will stack, so you'll have 325% in total attack, which is pretty good. Has Demon, Machine, and Undead Killers 200% in a Brave Shift form, 500% jump damage in a Brave Shift form, which also 300% TDH, and also finally 80 times mod jump in her Dragoon as a Dragoon in a Brave Shift form, but she can get 90 times if you use her Lump Burst, which you probably should do because you'll get more attack, of course. Okay, so unfortunately there's some downsides, and one of them is a traditional downside to Dragoons like this, like Mazurka and also her, for example. The first one is not as important because you can figure this out with other units. No self-imbue, but you can imbue her. But the biggest problem is being TDH, while it's already been shown and proven many times that true to wheel Dragoons are the way to go, which is why 2 units in this banner are true to wield. So unfortunately, she's not going to be hitting nearly as hard as anyone else unless you build her true to wield, which means you have to use a lot of other slots to make her true to wield, and now you're not going to have as much jump damage or killers or things like that. So I think she's just okay. If you have like 50-50 of her, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine with these results. I think she's good, but she's not mind-blowingly amazing. So I apologize. No, not apologizing, but I am saying that if you had a whole bunch and this is what you came up with, you probably might be disappointed, but she does have a lot of good things about her, like the zone effect. So I'll be giving her a 7.5 out of 10 for being like a supporty Dragoon type unit who can give your units a lot more attack and things like that. So it's quite good still. I just don't think that she's amazing because she takes quite a bit to get going, and also she won't be doing as much damage as Edgar, for example, and Edgar is also an Evision Awaken unit. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10 for Aranea. Cindy here, who her STMR got buffed apparently overnight or something like that, because now it's 100% physical magical machine killer instead of 50%, which would have been absolutely terrible. Who would have used that? Not me, but hey, now it's 100%, so that's a lot better. So she's really just a beginner-friendly unit. She has a lot of things that, you know, beginners would like MP recovery, AoE full dispel for allies and enemies, 200% full buff, attack, magic, spirit, and defense. I don't like saying, it's hard to say full buff because then some people think that HP and MP can be buffed, which it cannot. So, at least right now. So, yeah. And also 280% attack and magic buff on a cooldown. So like you guys can already see how this is like very simple, very basic, friendly, you know, beginners can come in and just use her as a buffer. Kind of like how CG Nicole was very simple, kind of. And the thing that some people may be drawn to, depending on the fight. She has 100% machine killer, which is okay, but 50% physical and magical machine killer, machine mitigation, which is pretty high. I have to say, pretty high. That's pretty strong. So I think that's the main thing that you would ever even bring her to any kind of fight for. She has 15% lightning damage buff, which is whatever, because there's other units that can give that or more. She also has an LB that provides under 50% lone burst damage buff for everybody except for herself, but she doesn't need it, and 30% or 30 lone burst crystal fill except for herself. So she's giving 30, but it costs 40. So she has to, you know, build that stuff up. She has some lone burst gauge fill rate, stuff like that, so she can do it. So, like I said, she's really only useful for beginners. Like, you're not really going to bring her for anything besides, unless you want that magic and physical machine mitigation. That's about it. I don't know what else to say. She's a 5 to 7 star. That's a very easy and simple buffer. So I'm just going to give her a 6 out of 10 for decent buffs and things like that, but nothing mind-blowing besides the mitigations. So moving on to the next. Nyx is here, and remember guys, he's the free unit now in the King Log. So if you are playing right now, not exactly right now, but when the event comes out in a few days, you'll be able to get him all of his stuff for free, just like Gilgamesh in the previous event. So it's quite nice to get a New Vision Awakened for free. His emergency, 85% full break on a cooldown. Unfortunately, the reason why I say emergency, because it won't be up at the same time as when it goes away. It lasts for 3 turns, but it's a cooldown of 5 turns. So that's why I say it's an emergency break. Bolting Strike and also Starter Strike frames, which is pretty diverse because, you know, Starter Strike is extremely popular, and so is Bolting Strike now on the JP side. Grandness ability gives 300% attack and magic buff for all allies. And on top of that, 100% low burst damage, but of course, he has to, you know, he's got to do that to himself, unfortunately. And he now gains 6 times cap or 600% chain, which is quite good now. His BS low burst gives a zone effect of 25% more in peril, so very similar to Aranea's effect. If you have 120% in peril and you use this, you'll have 145% in peril for light. If you have any higher than that, of course you'll have even more. I'm just saying 120% is pretty much the standard, and it'll stack. It's because it's a zone effect, guys. Remember, zone effects can stack with other things. That's why they're becoming quite useful. Light imbue on his grandest, light element boost for himself. And also, he has pretty high mod chaining for a free unit. 80 times with this 100 times mod on CD. Of course, there has to be some downsides because every unit has a downside in some way, give or take. No infinite turns, which is really unfortunate because you'd like to stay in his Brave Shift form because he has those high chaining modifiers and things like that. And no killers. He's more of a support DPS than a real DPS because of no killers, so say that you can make him a main DPS if you want to, if you don't have anyone else. In fact, new players would love to have this unit, even if he doesn't have infinite turns, because you could it's very similar to Sora, where you can imbue before you switch over. So you'll have those light imbue when you switched over, so you'll still be able to chain with light, or just have someone else do it for him. So I think I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10 for having strong chaining, having a nice support kit that can help you out your team. The biggest downside is no infinite turns, otherwise he would have had a slightly higher score. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Nyx. And now we're moving on to the main events here with 2 of the units that I've been looking forward to the most. Azure Blade Noctis, his STMR is quite good and out almost say mandatory for him because it'll make his jump damage woes a lot easier to obtain. So basically, Noctis and Arden are 2 sides of a different same coin. They're basically the same unit, but they have slightly different alterations. So I'll be going over those now. So Noctis STMR gives 50% light resist and also 50% undead killer. So there's that. infinite turns, 150%, true to wield, and 6 times cap, or 600%. If you want to get 200% without having to sacrifice any slots, you can use Blastful and Reagan's Vision card for the 50% true to wield, which will give them that 50%. So then you don't have to waste any slots or materials or anything like that for that, which is quite good. I have 25% Sword and Peril on their Olympus, which I'm pretty sure, I don't have any concrete evidence right now, I didn't test it, but I'm pretty certain because you can, I'm assuming it's very similar to other Imperils, which if you do 2 Imperils on a boss, you might do, good damage or something. So I assume you can do you can do the Sword Imperil, and you can also do Realm's Rod Imperil, and Tara will be hitting even more harder because she'll equip one of her STMR and also a Rod. So I think that's how that would work. I hope so. I think that would make Tara hit even harder, because 25% Sword Imperil is quite high compared to other debuffs of that similar nature, which are a little lower, give or take. Also, 150% Spirit and Undead Killers, which is good, not great, but I wish those were a little different. But hey, you gotta take something sometimes, right? And he has 300% jump damage, which is a little on the low side, but you can work it out with some STMRs. Light damage, element boost, Stardust Ray chaining. He only has Stardust Ray, I believe. And he's a Dragoon in his Brave Shift form, like we mentioned, because why would he have jump damage if he didn't have Dragoons? 83 times mod. He has 100% LB damage on in his Brave Shift form. 100, and also I think he has that in both actually. And possible LB finisher in his Brave Shift form, which is good. And has ways of filling his little first gauge because it was some moves that he unlocks. So it's good. He's good for sure. Being locked to light, but it's not that big of a deal anymore because Sora was locked to light, and look how strong he is, right? And of course, as all Dragoons have to do, you have to juggle damage, jump damage with killers, and all those kind of things involved with it. So I think I'm going to be giving him a 9 out of 10, and not even just because I love, Final Fantasy 15 or anything like that, just because he has the potential of being a very strong support Dragoon. He can finish. He has 2 ways of being a finisher, and he has Sword Imperil, which is going to be very valuable in the future. So he'll be able to be on the same team instead of Edgar. I think Noctis will be on the team instead. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, 9 out of 10 for that. And moving on to Arden here, who has basically the same kit, except there's some alterations like I mentioned. So he has 50% dark resist on his STMR and also 50% human killer, which I think is a little more on the more common side, but there is not a lot of humans in this game, so maybe not anymore anyways. So they've been diversifying. They're diversifying the races in this game in terms of bosses. So I mentioned everything here already that he already has. He has the same things as Noctis, except he has human and spirit killers, and he has dark element damage boost. But that's about it. He has basically the same kit. I think it's a little on the lazy side. I was a little disappointed with that, but you can make it work still. So he's a Dark Dragoon, chaining. He's locked to Dark, but like I said, it's not a problem because Riku from Kingdom Hearts 3 was also locked to Dark pretty much, but he made it work. And of course, like I mentioned, you have the juggle, jumps, damage, and killers and things like that. So hopefully you can figure that out. I do think that Noctis will probably edge out a little bit more because he has a buff in his normal form, whereas Arden just has a 100% disease, which could be useful in its own way. He has a cooldown that gives disease. I think that might be useful in some way or capacity, because there have been some bosses recently that you can use status effects on, and maybe that will become useful for some reason. So I guess I'll give him the same score as 9 out of 10 because he has the Sword Imperil still. He has, maybe Dark Dragoon could be different from a Light Dragoon. Maybe you could use Dark in some situations, and sometimes you could use Light in some situations. So it's all just a situational kind of thing that's going on. So, yeah. So I think that'll be the it, guys. I was hoping that Arden will be a little different, at least, but they're basically the same. Their CGs are amazing. Can't show them right now because they're not in the game yet, but make sure you subscribe for the polls if you've watched this far in the video. If you watch all the way to this part of the video, make sure to type in hashtag FFXV. FFXV will be the keyword for the end of this video. Can we get 60 likes on this? That would really help me out a whole lot. Big appreciation to you guys that always like the videos. Thank you guys very much for that. It really helps out. It's not a meme. It's really helpful. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. All those kind of good things, so you can see when I'm doing polls live. I'll be doing polls live on YouTube when it comes out. It's not out just yet, so if you were going to ask, hey, when is this banner coming up? Not for a few more days. So anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the very next video. Hopefully the poll is live. Peace.